Hi guys, welcome back to the Pre-Med Pod. Today we spoke to someone very special. She is the founder of Cancer Kids First, which is a massive nonprofit organization which she started freshman year. She is now going to Harvard, and it is none other than Olivia Zhang.
Having Olivia on this podcast was something really, really important and special to me because I am so lucky to be friends with her. And just seeing everything that she's done was something super inspirational. And me and Sienna both knew that having her on here would be something amazing. So thank you so much, Olivia. We had a great time. And we hope you guys all enjoy the episode. Hi guys, welcome back to the Pre-Med Pod. Today, we are so excited to have Olivia Zhang with us. So Olivia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for having me on today. My name is Olivia, and I am a incoming freshman at Harvard University, planning to concentrate in economics. I am a social impact leader who's really passionate about work in health equity, specifically in the childhood cancer field. So I am the founder and CEO of the largest youth-led nonprofit aiding kids with cancer worldwide, Cancer Kids First. And in addition to that, I serve on various health company boards and other nonprofit boards to advocate for youth patient leadership and patient equity as a whole.
So obviously, I'm super excited and honored, as I know Sienna is as well, to have you on. Tell us a little bit about how you started Cancer Kids First, and yeah, because that's super cool.
Yeah, for sure. So I started it in ninth grade officially. We started out with a toy and book drive first, and that was kind of our very first event. And this idea kind of all spurred from my personal experiences like with cancer. So I didn't personally have cancer, but two of my loved ones did, and both of them they were teachers. And so prioritizing students and like kids were always like their main goals. So when they passed away from cancer, that's kind of what spurred me to take action essentially, because it was kind of like either I guess succumb to like negative feelings and emotions, or I take what I learned from them to do something to help other kids. And because they were both teachers, I wanted to honor them by carrying their philosophy of like putting kids first to this organization. And so that's kind of why our tagline is putting kids with cancer first. And it's why our name is Cancer Kids First as well. But basically, I just kind of sat down and I did this for like 3 days straight. I sat down in my bedroom and I had a blank piece of paper in front of me and I drafted out plans for what I wanted our service programs to look like, what leadership positions I wanted on, and like who I wanted to have serve on these positions, how we were going to reach like partners and other companies and organizations, etc. And then to put those into action, I essentially gathered a team of amazing volunteers from my local area, and we cold emailed and cold called every single like pediatric cancer hospital within the US asking for partnerships. We also emailed a lot of local organizations and companies like Kumon, and the libraries and like schools in our area to host toys and book drives. And that was kind of what launched our first event, which was a toy and book drive at a elementary school in my area, and those books were donated to our first partner hospital, which was Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And that's kind of what kickstarted our first service program, which is toys and books.
I like can't say anything. It's amazing. And honestly, like being so young too in ninth grade, to like have this like goal in your head like of exactly what you were gonna do. Did you ever like think of it like being this big? Like what was your goal originally?
Yeah, so I set out to be a nonprofit because I remember I had watched some kind of YouTube video or something saying that like giving statistics of how many nonprofits there are and all the causes they helped. And so in the moment, I was very like, oh, I want to do something to obviously honor my grandparent and my elementary school teacher while simultaneously doing what I could to help kids with cancer. And so because I had watched that YouTube video, I was like, oh, okay, so a nonprofit organization is how I'm going to do it. So I always had the goal of forming a nonprofit. And so that's why I was very like motivated to start all the legal like paperwork and officially become a 501c3 registered organization. But in terms of like scaling, hoped that we would at least expand nationally. That was kind of the goal I had, was being able to reach and like help patients in all 50 states and get volunteers from all 50 states. And then a big goal that I had always set out for myself was I wanted to make it as well known as Make-A-Wish. And I wanted the programs to be so well known that like if a patient or parent asked the hospital director like, hey, like, do you know where we can get like care packages, they would automatically say Cancer Kids First, you know. And right now I feel like, or at the moment I felt like Make-A-Wish was like at that stage, and so that's the stage that I wanted to get Cancer Kids First towards. And so Make-A-Wish was kind of always my model organization that I kept in the back of my mind as I was like working through scaling and creating even more projects.
That is so cool. And I think, again, like Maddie said earlier, the fact that you started this at such a young age is so inspirational. But of course, being in high school, how did you kind of balance, you know, starting up this massive nonprofit as well as keeping up with your schoolwork and other possible extracurriculars? How was that like?
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this question because I have so many, I'm obsessed with organization and time management. So I have so many like tips that I learned along the way. But just to like begin off with like a story, I guess. In sophomore year, that was when Cancer Kids First was primarily like blowing up. So we got like thousands of volunteers within the span of a few hours. And I am an older sister. And so I always adopted the mindset of, oh, I have to do everything on my own and be very independent and not ask others for help. And so I kind of was micromanaging everything in our organization, from like social media posts, designing the website, obviously like the strategic part of planning out service programs, partnerships. I was the one like emailing all the patients and parents, and so I didn't really, I think, have the ability to delegate tasks yet. And so sophomore year, that was, I mean, an immense struggle to try to figure out how to manage all these volunteers and how to onboard them all, especially during COVID. Plus balancing that with like online school and other ECs. And so I focused a lot more on Cancer Kids First than I should have. I pulled like all-nighters and I would only like do CKF, and that caused my math grades especially to fall in school. And it wasn't until my math teacher like sat me down during a call and told me that my test grades were all like lowering like 10% each one that I took. They told me that I needed to essentially like wake up and learn how to delegate and balance, you know, all the activities that I was doing. And so that was I really credit him for helping me realize that, because from then on I had to learn how to trust other people with the vision that I had created for Cancer Kids First. And that's when I learned how to select the most efficient and like kind of dedicated leadership team members to help me balance everything. So step one is definitely just finding people around you who support you and who can help you with certain tasks, and who have like that creative vision to help you out. And then number two, like I found a planner. It's by Global Datebooks, and they are the only planner that I use, and I live by them. And I was able to separate like my school and extracurricular work into two different like blocks essentially, and that really helped set out like the tasks that I had to do every single day. Number three, I put like time limits on my phone for all like Instagram, Snapchat, all my social media. And then I also, because I have an iPhone, I did this thing where you can remove the app from the home screen to like prevent yourself from, you know, clicking on it. And so that really helped with my TikTok addiction and helped me like save time procrastinating. I don't remember what number I was on, 4 or 3 or something, but I use this technique called like punishment reward system, where I essentially like study or do work that I don't really enjoy for an hour, and then I reward myself with like 20 minutes of watching TikTok, Netflix, talking to my friends, etc. And then I repeat that cycle. Or I would work out or like do things that I didn't enjoy with something that I did enjoy. So for instance, like working out while watching Netflix or doing the dishes while listening to a podcast. So I found that really beneficial. And then lastly, I used a technique called time blocking, where you basically allocate a certain hour or time of day to a certain task, and you can only complete that task within that time frame. So for instance, I was very slow at like STEM work, and I would always have my phone open and like be texting my friends like as I did the work, because I didn't enjoy like doing STEM. And so I would set a timer on my phone for like 1 hour and tell myself I could only finish my math homework within this 1 hour. And so I think watching the time tick down gave me like a time pressure essentially that forced me to like think faster and eliminate the distractions that I had, because I could only like do the homework within the time frame that I had allotted myself. So those were some methods that I used that definitely I think kept me on track and able to manage everything that I had to do.
I'm telling you right now that I am not organized like that. I want to be organized so badly. It is like my biggest thing. Like, I bought a notebook. Sienna inspired me because she bought, like, I don't know how do you say it, papier or like papier.
Yes, I have them right here. I have two because I'm so bad. I have to write like everything down or otherwise I will go off the rails. And so I have one that's just for like my life, and then the other one is all school stuff.
No, girl, that's exactly how I did it too. Like my friends always yell at me for not remembering things, but I literally can't remember like what times I have meetings or like what time I have to do like some certain assignment. So I have to like write down every single individual assignment and like the time that I want to do it, things like that.
Exactly. And my entire thing is color coded too. Like it's bad, but I don't know, it works.
No, I want to be able to like do that so badly. I feel like in the beginning of every school year, it's like, okay, I can do it, yay. And then like second quarter hits and I'm like, I never touched this thing ever like again. And then I look back and I'm like, I just spent money on this and I wasted it because I literally just found my other one the other day and I was like, oh, I'll reuse it. Wait, like I can't because the dates are wrong. Like I feel like I don't know how do you stick with it?
I feel like Sienna's a better to answer this.
My gosh. Well, for me, I just know I'm gonna forget. But if you want, I can do a little haul of my pencil case. Oh, because I started school. That's something. In Arizona, we start school, well, now we do July 19th. And so it's crazy, I know. And so I'm already in school, and I've had to, like, crank down because of senior year and everything. And so, I don't know, for me, I have my planners in my backpack, and then I have my little pencil case. And I just keep all of, like, my highlighters and my pencils, like, I don't know, right at the top. And so it's just right there, and I always take them out in class. So then, like, if it's there and I know about an assignment, I just write it down right away.
Oh yeah, I've also heard that like if you have really cute planners or like cute pens and pencils and how you like you write like really cutely into like your planner, if that makes sense, then it makes it more inclined for you to continue using it because it like looks adorable. But for me, like I personally love the satisfaction of like crossing out something or checking off an assignment, and so that's kind of why I really love to use like a paper pencil planner.
No, yeah. I love that. It's like the most satisfying thing in the world. Like I literally love crossing off or like checking it, and it like I always feel so bad about myself if I check it off before I actually finish. Like if I'm like you know what I mean, like I'm doing my homework and I'm like, oh okay, I'll check it off, I did it, but like I'm doing it, oh I can't do it, like I can't do it. And it's like that's the one thing. Honestly, this conversation has like just made me realize that's the one thing I have to do, because I like clicking the thing and like checking it off. So
yeah,
yes.
It's like a mini reward for yourself.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're talking a lot about, you know, extracurriculars. I mean, with Cancer Kids First, starting that and being organized. But how did you, like, what classes did you take in school, and how did you, I don't know, like, did you apply the same mindset that you had with Cancer Kids First to those? How, I know we talked a little bit about your math, but what about the other classes, like the ones you like enjoyed more?
Yeah, I was definitely more of a humanities student during high school, and so a big part or a big mindset that I adopted when it came to like choosing classes was definitely I wanted to explore subjects that I thought were really cool, and also just try to gain as much knowledge I could in the fields that I was good at, but then also challenge myself in the fields that I kind of struggled in. So I took a lot of like business related courses because that was what I found myself to really enjoy. So I really loved AP Micro Macro Econ. Our school does it where it's like a dual class in one, and so we spent the first half of the year covering AP Macro and then the second half covering AP Micro. So I really loved that class because my teacher was amazing, and I just learned a lot about economics and how that correlated with like business. And so I was able to use a lot of what I learned in the class, like with my nonprofit and other activities I did related to business. I also really loved the classes I took in like entrepreneurship, marketing, etc. And then because again I was more of a humanities student, I kind of took the highest AP classes you could for both history and English, and I really enjoyed those. So like AP Lang, AP Lit, Gov, A Push, etc. And then I tried to really challenge myself with STEM classes still. So I took AP Calc BC and AP Physics 1, which I highly do not recommend, but I think it was really good for me to try to expand myself outside of my comfort zone. Because I had kind of always gone into school with the mindset of like, oh, I suck at math and I suck at STEM, so I'm just not going to pursue those subjects. But I think that I had limited myself by saying that, and so I was trying to adopt more of a growth mindset where I understood my weaknesses, but I was able to, I guess, still find the courage to try to expand or like improve those weaknesses. So a lot of the classes that I did senior year were especially like STEM focused because I was trying to adopt that mindset.
How did you balance school, Cancer Kids First, and the college application process last year?
Okay, people say junior year is the hardest year of high school. It is, they're lying to you, okay? It's senior year. Senior year, first quarter and second quarter were horrible. And I'm very happy that they're over. But essentially, okay, number one tip, everybody says to start early. That is so big. Definitely start early. So I started like the summer before senior year. So around like May, June, I started working on my Common App and filling out like the Common App personal activities lists, awards lists, etc. So I was able to get that and like the UC essays out of the way during the summer so I could focus on supplemental essays during the school year. But creating like a calendar for myself for like when I wanted to finish everything by each month, and then also making spreadsheets for like all the supplemental essays I had to write, all the additional information and material I had to submit for each college, that was so helpful in keeping myself organized and like on top of things. But I also kind of like with the time blocking method I mentioned earlier, I would set off like 2 hours every single day to work on college application related things. So I would try to finish a lot of my schoolwork during the school time. So when I got home from that like 4 to 6 p.m. block, I would be solely focused on like editing essays, writing essays, researching schools, etc. And I think that was really helpful in making sure that I didn't procrastinate on things that I had to do for like college applications.
How many colleges did you end up applying to at the end of the application season?
So my college list started out with 15 schools, and then after I got deferred from Yale, my mom had a little panic attack, and so did I, and then I kept adding schools, and I applied to a total of 26 in the end. But I'll keep in mind that
Jaw dropped.
I applied to 5 UC schools, and those are one application. So like technically 21 schools, I guess.
Okay, great. Anyways, how did you do that? How did you do that? How?
It was just like the spreadsheets, the calendars, the amount of Google Docs I made to keep track of all my essays. Like I had a whiteboard calendar, I had a Google Doc calendar, I had a phone calendar. I had so many calendars to keep track of everything and like keep track of deadlines. But a lot of the essays you can actually copy paste, so that was really good. It was kind of like you focus on setting like 5 main ideas that you would want to write about, and then you write essays that you're able to like transfer to other schools. Although biggest advice is definitely do not copy paste essays for like the Y school essay. They can tell when you do that. So always try to make it very specific to the school itself, especially if you want to get into the school. But yeah, I don't know, that time was very stressful, and I don't think I like slept much. And I'm just very happy that that's over.
That was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy. I can't. That was crazy. I can't say anything. I'm like, anyways, though, about the why essay, because I know that's a huge one. How did you find things unique to each school that you like? Because I'm assuming you really want to go to Yale, so I'm assuming you knew a lot about Yale. How did you know about other stuff about the other schools if you weren't super like into them? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, I actually applied early to Yale because my counselors told me that that was a better option than my dream school, which was Stanford. So Yale was actually like, I did not know much about it at all when I applied. So, and now looking back, my Yale essays are horrible compared to my other essays. But yeah, essentially, like First of all, doing research on the school's website, their Instagram, the stuff that they put out on Google is important. But then also, I found like searching up like Stanford, for instance, on TikTok and Reddit and College Confidential, even though some of those messages are a little toxic, I guess, or the platforms are a little toxic, I found a lot of like really useful information that categorized like Stanford as like a more like fun school who took like more weird, quirky kids. So I got to learn a lot more about the school from like the student perspective rather than what they were sharing online. So I got a sense of like how each IB or each school that I applied to distinctly like I guess shaped itself, and what they valued compared to other schools. And so I did a lot of like unique research that way. And then also a lot of the schools I applied to, when I tell people that every single school I applied to, or most of the schools I applied to, I really, really liked, they don't believe me. But I truly did. Like, I feel like there's so many amazing universities in the United States. And the summer before I was applying, I kind of went in with the mindset like, oh, I'm not going to get into my early school. So I did a lot of research on like size, location, programs offered, the school culture, etc. So I had a good base of knowledge, I would say, of a bunch of the schools that I applied to. And a lot of the ones that I did apply to, I had some kind of personal story to them, whether that was like going to one of their summer camps, like UVA and UPenn, or doing a partnership for like a hospital drop-off, like Johns Hopkins, or just like knowing friends who went to those schools, like Northwestern, Stanford, etc., where I could use them as like personal story ties to why I wanted to apply to the school. So definitely just reaching into like your personal connections, your personal stories, and then also just looking at what information there is online about the school from like unknown or more like hidden resources like Quora, Reddit, TikTok.
So you obviously applied to a ton, which I'm assuming meant that you got into a load of schools as well. How did you choose Harvard at the end?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So I was accepted to 20 of the schools that I applied to, which I am very grateful for. But like in hindsight, I definitely just didn't need to apply to that many. But in the moment, I was like so scared and anxious that I wouldn't get in. So especially with like nowadays, acceptance rates are so low. But essentially, my top three choices were Harvard, Stanford, and UPenn's Business School, Wharton. Primarily because those were kind of the schools that would give me the platform to achieve my career goal, which at the moment is to become a social impact leader in the health field. But I would want to start a business in telehealth, and so creating my own telehealth company would be really awesome. And so UPenn obviously has the best #1 business school, and business was what I knew that I wanted to pursue. So that's why Wharton was definitely up there. But how I kind of eliminated that from my list was like I mentioned, when I was like pursuing coursework throughout high school, I'm very big on exploring new subjects and taking classes simply for the sake of like learning new knowledge. And at Wharton, it'd be very like pre-professional focused. So I thought that it would kind of confine me to only business, if that makes sense. And so I wasn't 100% sure that that's exactly what I wanted to do in the future. And so going to schools like Harvard and Stanford, where they have a set curriculum, that was more focused on like English, math, history, and sciences, like I thought I'd be able to gain more knowledge and gain more understanding of different educational topics by going to those schools. So that's kind of how I eliminated Wharton. And just because I mean, like, who says no to Harvard and Stanford? I feel like. So that's kind of how Wharton was eliminated. And then Stanford, so I also attended the mid-student days for all of these schools. So I asked a lot of current students about their lives, and I had a lot of questions about different program offerings, culture, like school culture, etc. And then I also toured all the schools. I went to their mid-student days. I watched day in my life, like YouTube video and TikTok videos. And then I basically made a pro and con list for Harvard and Stanford. Originally, I was kind of like 80% set on Harvard, because Stanford was the dream school that I had thought a lot about, and then Harvard was kind of the one that I just didn't let myself think about because I was like, there's no way I'm getting in. And with the whole stigma of like, who says no to Harvard, I was like, okay, I'm probably going to go to Harvard, but Stanford has always been my dream, so I obviously will visit the school and see how it is. And when I got there, it just wasn't exactly what I expected. And that was my first time like going to Stanford, and being in California, in general for a long time. And so it was just, I don't know, I think it's a gut feeling that you feel. I just felt like more excitement when I thought about myself at Harvard, and especially because you can't really compare, I think, the academic offerings and obviously the networking that you would get at both schools because they're both incredible. So my pro and con list had like the same amount of pros and cons for both schools. And I remember Stanford Mid Student Day, it ended like one day before the decision day, and so I had exactly 24 hours to decide like what school I wanted to go to. And I was on a flight back home, and my mom was sitting on one side. She was always a big like Harvard stan, and then this guy that I met at Stanford, he was on the other side, and both of them were spouting like statistics about which school was better, and I was so confused. And so I was like, guys, I'm gonna flip a coin. So I flipped a coin, and I was like, whatever it lands on, like that's the school I'm gonna go to, because at the moment I was very like 50-50, because just like being on Stanford's campus, I definitely think like with the weather and how beautiful the scenery is, that really just like swayed my decision, honestly. But yeah, so at the moment I was 50-50, so I just like flipped a coin, and it landed on Stanford, and immediately I regretted the fact that it didn't land on Harvard. And so that's kind of how internally I knew that it was Harvard that I wanted to go to.
I'm like in awe right now. Like the coin flip thing, I saw something about that like on TikTok a while ago, and every time I have to make like a decision, not obviously not as big as that, but I try to like think like in that like sense. I don't actually flip the coin, but I think of it. I think
Yeah.
of it. So honestly, it's like not even just that, but it's such a big accomplishment. Congratulations, first of all, to not even just get into the schools, but have to like decide between Harvard and Stanford. That's crazy, first of all. Like, I can't. So, congrats. And obviously, Cancer Kids First is a teen led organization. So, the volunteers, all the chapters, everyone is, in high school. How do you plan on continuing your like legacy with Cancer Kids First in college?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for one, I've definitely had a lot of people ask me if I'm still continuing it throughout college, and I always tell them like Cancer Kids First is such a big part of who I am and my life, and so I really can't imagine like not working on it at all. Like that, the thought of like after college scares me because I don't know what I'm gonna do after, like with not having Cancer Kids First. But um, I think something that I actually found like really helpful was the COVID-19 pandemic. It was very difficult in the moment to adjust all our volunteer programs and services and the way that we communicate in general with our team members to be like 100% online. But I think in hindsight, like that helped prepare us for this transition to college because we already had like all our services geared towards like the idea that everybody's going to be in different countries, different states, different time zones. And so there's not much adjustment that way, because I'm just simply moving to a new area, but I still have, my laptop and phone, so I can still like communicate with everybody. And I think for all the seniors who feel that Cancer Kids First plus college would be too much of a kind of commitment, we just have onboarded a lot of younger like high school students and even some middle school students to serve on our leadership board, and they will be, I think, essentially replacing like our older folks, and we'll be training them and onboarding them to kind of serve in the same duties. But I honestly think it'll be a pretty smooth transition, considering again like most of the things that we do is 100% virtual. I think it'll just take a little bit more team building in the sense that not everybody's going to be located in the same place anymore, and so it'll be hard to host like in-person events. And so we have like human resources managers. Like I created that job because I realized that without a headquarter base, I guess, it'll be difficult for everybody to feel, part of a team and have that warm like feeling of working with other people. And so we have these like virtual HR managers now who their goal is going to be to uplift our team environment despite being virtual and having everybody in different areas. And so we're going to try to do a lot more team bonding events that are virtual, and then like virtual parties, different like workshops and like, reflection exercises that work on like building or bond and everything. So I think that'll just be our biggest challenge when it comes to me moving on to like college. But I think that overall it should be a pretty smooth transition, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think the viewers know this, but I am also involved with Cancer Kids First. I started the branch in my community, so I love hearing about all this kind of stuff. It's really important to me that even though I'm, going to be going through the college process and everything, that I'm still going to be putting my attention towards Cancer Kids First because it means a lot to me. What advice? I mean, you kind of gave it to us, but to all those people in general who feel, not that I feel like I can't do it, but to people that do feel that way, what would you tell them to get them through that mental block?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say that I definitely understand that fear, or whatever it is preventing you from starting like a passion project to address a cause that you care a lot about. But I would say that like I think I am so proud to be a part of a generation that has so many innovative thinkers and creators who are, I think, really advancing causes and advocating for issues that weren't previously highlighted in previous generations. Like, I think Gen Z has been at the forefront of like climate change, the BLM movement, like Stop Asian Hate, all of these issues that are, present in our society. And it's because I think we have such a unique vision and perspective. And a lot of that is in relation to like technology, social media, especially going through the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that was something that like no other generation has really had to go through. And so for us, it was um, a very necessary experience to like bond everybody together and highlight various issues that were present. But yeah, so as I was saying, I think that Gen Z definitely has like such a unique energy, and everybody has a hunger almost to solve different issues that they see present in the world, which I find really, really inspiring. But also, there are a lot of youth at the same time who have great ideas and they just are afraid to kind of put that into action, as Maddie, you were sharing. And I would definitely recommend that they look into resources and mentors. I think that that was what was so helpful to me when I was starting out Cancer Kids First, and I didn't really know how to navigate through various obstacles that came up. But literally just Googling like how to start a nonprofit and like reading those free articles, finding mentors who had already started nonprofits or done work in the field, and who were willing to provide me their time and assistance. They were incredibly beneficial to helping get Cancer Kids First to where it is today. And so I would definitely say to, not be hesitant to ask other people for help, and definitely try to reach out to all the resources around you to, I guess, like get support to start a passion project.
You have so much wisdom coming from someone speaking firsthand about this. I really find it so amazing that you're able to kind of talk on this and be a mentor to other people. And, like with you receiving help, now you're able to outreach and meet and support so many other people. I think is so special. About your nonprofit again, Cancer Kids First, we saw that you won the Diana Award, which is, of course, a massive accomplishment in itself. What was the process of that like?
Yeah, so the Diana Award, it is an award that can be won only if you're nominated by somebody. And so one of our partner, like our organization partners, the head of that organization, they nominated me for it. And they essentially had to just like write essays about the work that we do and who I am as a person and like my personal leadership journey. And then I think there's like a nomination process and then an application process where judges read over all the essays written and all the like details about the nonprofit, like the people that they've helped, the services they've provided, etc. And then they kind of select from the pool of applicants. I think that's kind of how it is. But it was definitely I think so surreal to be able to receive it. And then I got to attend like a virtual award ceremony where Prince Harry and I think Prince William, I think they were on it, which is so cool to like hear their words and hear them speak about it. And the CEO of the Diana Award, she came on to share a little bit too. But most of all, I loved hearing about all the other youth leaders who started organizations, projects, inventions to address different societal issues. And a lot of them definitely opened up my mind when it came to thinking about how Cancer Kids First could start a new service program or start some kind of new event or project to further the work that we were doing. And it also, I think, gave me just a lot of motivation to see other kids my age like working so hard to advance things that they cared about.
Like everything you say is so like amazing, and you're so well spoken too. I just have to say, I actually have a question because you keep talking about projects and all the new stuff that you through, I mean, like directly, and also the other chapters in Cancer Kids First, all the events and activities they have done. What has been, or what are the top few that have been the most, memorable or like unmatched to anything else? Like, have been your top favorites?
Oh yeah, this is a good question. I would say definitely the first one is we held a Zoom call with a patient named Theo, and essentially the Zoom calls are a part of our fifth service program, patient interaction program, and it's all aimed at providing a way to decrease like social isolation for patients who are either like in the hospital and can't see their friends, family, etc., or who are at home and they can't really talk to their friends or go to school anymore. And so that's what this program was kind of created. And we essentially match volunteers with like-minded interests to patients, and they converse, they play games, etc. So we did a Zoom call with a patient named Theo, and his mom told us beforehand that he was a genius. And I was like, I brushed that off. I was like, oh, all moms think that their kids are geniuses. So, I'm sure he's like really smart, but I didn't really expect anything of it. And then this kid comes on, he's 9 years old, and he knows about astrophysics. He builds model rockets in his hospital bed, like in the middle of his chemotherapy treatments. He's talking about like reading textbooks and knowing like so many things about the different planets and all of this like insane stuff that I don't even know about. And I was like, oh my God, like this kid is incredible. And he was so inspiring to me as a student too, because I was like, if he's able to learn all this new knowledge and explore hands-on like STEM, then like despite going everything that he is going through, like why can't I like work harder towards, my own academic pursuits? So that was like really inspirational. But also it was just like one of the first Zoom calls that we've done, and being able to physically like talk to a patient and see their reaction and play games with them, and again like see how much like physically how much we've benefited them like on call, so like face to face. I think that is so unmatched. And just being able to see a community of youth come together for this one patient and ask him questions, talk to him, and just make his day a little bit brighter. I think that just embodied what Cancer Kids First is to me. And so that was always a moment that will, I think, stand out, because I was able to see both from the volunteer and the patient side how rewarding our service programs actually are. And so that reaffirmed that Cancer Kids First truly is making an impact.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with one of like my chapter's events. We made blankets for kids at a local hospital. And then we went to deliver them, and we played with the kids in their child life and play zone, they call it. They just built it. It's really a great facility. I was really impressed with what they've done, but I saw that, and there was a kid there, and I don't know if I can like say his name or anything, but he was there. We got to make friendship bracelets with him, and he was so sweet and so kind and so nice despite everything that was going on. He was getting chemo like right in front of us, and I was like, this kid is literally so inspirational and so amazing. I like it for like seeing it firsthand is just, it really inspires you to want to do more, want to help anyone you can. Like so I totally understand that. I went through that similar thing. So that's another reason why it means so much to me, as I know probably every time you do another activity or every time you see another patient, your like love for it grows and grows and grows. But yeah, I can relate to that. So
Yeah, for sure. I think also what you mentioned is like definitely being able to see patients be so happy and be a light to other people despite like everything that they're going through at such a young age. That's just, I think, like the perfect embodiment of like positivity and all the good in this world. And I think they oftentimes like people ask me like what gives me motivation, I think, to continue the work that I do, and it's literally like seeing these patients go through the things that they do, as you mentioned, and still be able to get up every day with like a huge smile and not let the difficulties that they're going through physically, mentally, emotionally overcome the way that they approach life.
No, yeah, it's it's definitely something to see and it's something to experience. It's not, I mean, like every time I've interacted with a healthcare worker or a patient themselves or anybody that, like dedicates their time to improving the lives of patients, it's like truly like unlike anything else. It's definitely, it's an honor, honestly, to be around those kinds of people because like I look up to them. I see even what you're doing, like everything that you've done, like it's so inspirational. It just keeps me going and it keeps me wanting to like pursue the same kinds of things. Like the whole nonprofit world was something I never really knew about until getting involved in Cancer Kids First. So just being able to see all of this, it just keeps me wanting to make an impact as well. I don't know. It's just great.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy because definitely I think a big goal originally with Cancer Kids First was obviously helping kids with cancer, but then I think it eventually moved into the fact that because we were youth led, like a big thing that I'm working towards now is inspiring other youth leaders and giving other people opportunities to, start something like this within their own communities and essentially step up as youth leaders themselves. Because I think youth leadership is very vital and important to our world, especially given all the different societal issues going on right now.
Are there any other issues that you think in your future you would like to personally work towards? I know there's a lot of things, of course, with cancer and healthcare in general. There's also, of course, things with climate change that's been a very big topic lately. Of course, we have some racial movements. Are there anything, like any other movements that you personally would like to get involved in, or any other, I guess, clubs or activities that you're also passionate about?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say this is, I guess, related to the nonprofit work that I do, but I think that there's a very big stigma around like youth-led profit projects and nonprofits, and I think that negative stigma is also a big obstacle or roadblock in kids starting up their own NGOs or other like businesses or etc. And so I would definitely want to work towards dismantling that stigma and providing like resources to youth to start their own projects, and just providing more, I think, easy and accessible resources and tips and tools, I guess, for these youth to start up their own projects. Because like I mentioned before, I think youth leadership is very unique and very needed in this world right now. So that's definitely something I would want to work towards. But also I would definitely love to just explore the more business side of things. So I am going into Harvard with the intention of pursuing economics, with probably some entrepreneurship and marketing classes along with that. And so the kind of end goal is to start my own company one day, and hopefully I am able to do that by making connections and gaining knowledge at Harvard. But that's kind of my goal, I guess, for right now. I'm not quite sure exactly what I would want the company to be. Probably in the health field related to like telehealth and increasing access to healthcare for patients in low-income countries. But definitely just exploring more of that business side is what I'm working towards currently.
Do you plan on starting any? I mean, I'm not really sure how Harvard, runs their like organizations and clubs. I know I grew up in LA, so I know a little bit about UCLA's stuff, and I know that they like to do a lot of youth led organizations and clubs and stuff. So I'm assuming Harvard's the same, but are you planning on creating something like that at Harvard?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think at the moment, I mean, they have like, I think like hundreds, like 400 clubs or something, and literally every thing that you can think of, they have like a club for that. And so that's like the difference between that and high school. In high school, the reason why I started Cancer Kids First as an organization too is because there was no more like club spot openings for an idea like this, and also they didn't have any like clubs related to something like Cancer Kids First. But in Harvard, there's like so many different offerings, and so honestly, I can't think of like any topic or club idea I would want to start that they don't already have. However, I would love to open like a Harvard chapter of Cancer Kids First. I think that would be really cool. Or even just a, maybe not necessarily affiliated with Harvard, but some kind of like youth mentorship program where it's all about like nonprofit consulting for youth specifically.
I think that I think I was actually thinking about this a while ago. I would love to like still be able to participate in some way in college. So are there any other volunteers that, I mean, I'm assuming there are people that have been involved that want to continue, working if they're graduating or have graduated. So do you think in the future that there's going to be some kind of way that volunteers from the past can still be involved?
Yeah, I think definitely that is something that I would really love to explore. We do currently have like a lot of college like volunteers, and also we have like college chapters, and a lot of our leadership team members, they're going to be college freshmen or they are already in college. And so definitely like I think the age of our organization is moving up a little bit. And so I think it'd be really cool to start some kind of like mentorship program where it's all about like more experienced volunteers or leaders within Cancer Kids First kind of like mentor and help out the newly joined like middle school, maybe like volunteers and stuff like that.
That is just so cool. I'm like so excited for you and like the next step of this journey. I feel like I remember hearing about Cancer Kids First through Maddie when we first met at Georgetown, and I remember there was a friendship bracelet making project that she was doing. She was showing me everything she was getting and all of this stuff. And I remember just like seeing like Maddie just like so passionate about it, and then seeing like just how big of an impact it is. And it's such a young nonprofit still. And I think while it's gone so far, there's so much for it to grow. And so I'm just so excited to see what happens with it and where it's going to go. Because I feel like it's just going to be amazing and just create an even bigger impact. So yeah, I'm just so excited about it. And I really think it's going to be amazing. I think we'll slowly start to wrap up. But one thing we do at the end of our episodes is we have like a little rapid fire question, and there's 3 of them, and they're pretty simple. You can answer as long or as short as you like, and you can feel free to go into detail if you want or not. But yeah, really whatever you feel like. And so our first question is, what is one piece of advice you would give your high school self?
Oh, there's so much. I feel like a big thing is this is like my life model now, essentially. And it's that everything happens for a reason. I like Cancer Kids First was a project that came out of a period of like grief, essentially, when I was very angry at like the world for taking away 2 people that I loved, and I didn't really understand why I lost them. But I mean, like looking back on it now, I think it was to give me like a new community of people, basically the Cancer Kids First community. And I'm so grateful to everybody a part of Cancer Kids First because they have definitely shaped me to who I am today. And so that was kind of a reaffirmation, I guess, of the notion that everything happens for a reason. But also it was something that I tried to tell myself throughout high school when I met like an obstacle or a challenge that hurt like my confidence, or it was something that I really struggled through. It was a way for me to remain positive and remind myself that good things are going to come in the future. And so sometimes I still really, I think, struggled to follow that statement, and I would just surround myself with like more negative emotions and thoughts and feelings. And I feel like I really wish I could have gone back and just reminded myself of that statement so I could look forward towards the positive things rather than staying stuck in kind of like a bad place.
I think it's been we've only had a few interviews, but it's been such a common theme. All of these like amazing people, you included, have been saying everything happens for a reason. I know Sienna and I both really think that way. So yeah, I just love hearing everyone say that because it just, I feel like I can think really like think that way as well. And I think
Yeah.
that would like help me get through some things that I, don't always love.
Yeah.
Anyways, um how our second question. Um how do relationships play a role in your life? So this can be friends, family, any kind of relationship because Sienna and I are really good friends. We live in different states. I live in Florida and she lives in Arizona, but we thought this was a super important question because it's hard to do stuff school, outside of school, being in a medical school, running a nonprofit. It's hard to do that by yourself without anybody there to help you. So how do relationships play a role in your life?
Yeah, I mean, they play, I think, a role in like every aspect of my life. I don't think that I would be here at all without the people supporting me in my life, whether that's like the people part of Cancer is First who are, doing that back end work to support the goals that my nonprofit is working towards, whether that's like my friends who literally just make me happy by spending time with me, relieving my stress, so sending me like encouragement and positivity whenever I need it, or of course like my parents who like drive me everywhere, they cook me meals, they give me a lot of advice within the business field because they've had like past experiences. So there are so many people in my life who I don't think I could thank them enough for what they do for me, whether they know it or not. Because I think even like the smallest act of kindness, goes such a long way. So like that's why embracing like gratitude and positivity is very important to me. Um, because like even just like a hug from a friend, like that can get me through like a really hard day. And so I think it is, the saying like you are the people, like the five closest people around you or something like that. I think that is so true because I think I've been so influenced by the people that I surround myself by. And I feel so fortunate and lucky to have a support system that I do. Like I mentioned before, in like sophomore year, I was very like, oh, I need to do this on my own independently. I don't want to ask anybody for help or hear any of their input or criticism. But I've definitely like moved away from that mindset, and because of that I think I've been able to grow not only as a leader but also as a person.
And I think I would definitely call myself a more independent person when it comes to certain projects. I could not do any of what I'm doing without the people in my classes, even if they don't know they're helping me, they are. And I think there's like such a fine line between, for me at least, like independence and still being able to trust other people and have that support from others, making like a major difference in my performance and overall like my well-being. And so I really like what you said, and we heard the five people that you surround by, and I really resonate with that. I just, again, I think like when you surround yourself with loving and supportive people, that is who you are to others. And so I really resonate with that, and I think that's great. Our final question here is, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now, and how are you tackling it?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I think honestly my biggest challenge right now, I mean it is the summer before college. So I think it's really good in the sense that like everybody's been telling me that this is the only summer or the last summer that I can just do whatever I want and not have to worry about like life and like school and etc. So I've really been trying to just take this time to reconnect with the people that I love who I probably won't see for a really long time. But also like reconnect with my hometown. And so it's definitely been very, I think, a lot less stressful because of that. So honestly, I'm very happy to say that I don't have super big challenges in my life at the moment. But I would say if I could name one, I think it's just kind of embracing the unknown of college. I'm definitely very scared and a little worried about entering Harvard because I'm not quite sure how college is going to be like. I've heard that it's very different than high school. And so honestly, I think that is my biggest challenge right now is trying to get over that fear, and focus a lot more on the excitement that I have of beginning this new chapter of my life. I've always found it difficult to like let go of the like old things, I guess. And so I really, really enjoyed my high school experience. And so I kind of want to just stay in that bubble and repeat high school so I don't have to start something new and scary. But I think that this is definitely going to be vital for my growth. So yeah, I am excited. So I think tackling it wise, I've definitely been trying to ask and talk to like current students and also incoming freshmen. So I'm able to find like a sense of community and get a better idea of what to prepare for. And I think that'll help like combat kind of like the stress and fears that I have of entering college.
I honestly, we have a year before we're where you are, but it's already starting the stress. I'm like very nervous, and the whole like unknown college thing. I'm so lucky. Me and Sienna are very lucky that we had the chance to do the Georgetown program because we got to live in the dorms, and we got to have a little taste of college life. So I'm very lucky to, even though that was really academic, to have seen that, because I'm also very, I don't even know what it's going to be like. And I just came back from Florida State. I was visiting a friend there, so I got to see, because they started school already, which is weird, but I feel like having the opportunities that I have and hearing about your summer program, I feel you're going to be totally fine. But I just know that, like, I'm very lucky to have had the experience of, a little bit of college, because it's definitely less scary than other people have been thinking it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's fun.
Yeah. No, I remember like going into my summer program, I was so scared because I was like, oh God, this is going to be like a preview to college and I don't know how that's going to be. So I don't know how this camp is going to be. And I was so worried about like meeting people, like if I would adjust to like the schedule that they had set out for us, like all of that, and get accustomed to like living away from home and living in a new area. But it was like the best 3 weeks of my life. And so I feel like I'm hoping that college is like the same thing. I just know that I have to remind myself that, again, everything happens for a reason. So I just have to go in with an open mind. And I got a really good piece of advice, which is to just remember the values that you have for yourself and set morals that you want to follow. So you remember, if you have a good, like, strong sense of self going into college, you won't let like things or people deter you from that, I guess. And so that's kind of what I'm focusing on this summer, is like setting out those like 5 values for myself and setting goals for myself as well, to always hold those in the back of my mind as I'm going through like the next 4 years.
That's just really, I agree with that, honestly. I feel like, especially you, because you are going into college, that it's important to, stay true to yourself, because you hear all of the stories about people going into college and doing things that they're not necessarily think like they would expect themselves to do, or hanging out with people that they don't expect to hang out with. And everything does happen for a reason, and I think that having your beliefs and holding those beliefs true to yourself is something super important that everyone should do, regardless of age or where you are in life, all of that kind of stuff. So just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. We had a great time despite the technical difficulties. Do you have any places or just things that you want people can find you, Cancer Kids First, your mission, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so definitely check out our website at cancerkidsfirst.org. I am on Instagram and TikTok if you guys also want to connect with me there. It's at Olivia Zhang, so Livia and then Zhang. And that's my Instagram. And then Cancer Kids First, you can follow Cancer Kids First on Instagram at Cancer Kids First. And yeah, I think those are the main like social media platforms and information.
So yeah, everyone go check her out. Go check out Cancer Kids First.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know I had an amazing time. It was so cool seeing his perspective from someone our age or around our age, getting kind of see the impact that you've made, and also getting a little bit of advice for next year and this year. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It was great talking to you guys.
It was great to talk to you too. We'll definitely be in touch, and next year when you finish your first year, we'll have you back, and we want to hear all about that.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, Olivia. Thank you so much.
Bye.